before the concept of Nigeria was born, the region was a vibrant patchwork of ethnic nations, each flourishing with its own unique identity, governance systems, and contributions to human civilization. Among these, the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba people stood out, not because they were better than others, but because of their historical size, influence, and legacy that still echoes in the present day. The Yoruba people, occupying the southwestern part of the region, were known for their highly organized kingdoms and respect for hierarchical leadership. Cities like Ife and Oyo were not only political centers, but also cradles of art, philosophy, and spiritual tradition. Their system of governance featured kings known as Obas, who ruled with the guidance of councils and priests, demonstrating a balance between political authority and spiritual oversight. The Yoruba placed great value on festivals, family lineages, and the transmission of oral history through proverbs, drums, and chants. In the northern parts of the region, the Hausa people developed into city-states that excelled in trade, agriculture, and craftsmanship. These cities like Kano, Dora, and Zaria became centers of learning and industry, connected by ancient trade routes that spanned across the continent. Skilled in weaving, metalwork, and architecture, the Hausa also maintained strong community structures where leadership and civic responsibility played a central role in everyday life. Markets were central to Hausa urban life, and values such as respect for elders, diligence, and hospitality were passed down through generations. To the east, the Igbo people lived in well-structured communities that prized equality, communal cooperation, and participatory leadership. Rather than centralized kingship, many Igbo communities were governed by elders, age-grade associations, and title holders whose authority was based on wisdom, achievement, and service. This decentralized yet highly organized society encouraged dialogue, shared responsibilities, and strong kinship ties. The Igbo were renowned for their agricultural productivity, especially in yam and cassava farming, as well as their entrepreneurial spirit and community development ethos. What unified these diverse groups was a deep connection to land, ancestry, and cultural values. And though distinct in their customs, they shared an appreciation for storytelling, respect for nature, vibrant festivals, and the importance of family. Across towns and regions, trade and migration fostered peaceful interaction, mutual influence, and cultural exchange. These indigenous societies laid a strong foundation of innovation, identity, and interdependence, long before any external forces arrived. On pointing Mutin Waidafra Mondo Poli, they offer a profound reminder that Africa, and Nigeria in particular, was never a blank slate, but rather a land, rich in civilization, wisdom, and human achievement. The daily life of Nigeria's indigenous peoples was shaped by a rhythm of communal harmony, practical knowledge, and deep respect for heritage. The Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba peoples built systems of living that reflected their connection to family, land, and time-honored customs. Though each group maintained its distinct ways of life, they all placed strong emphasis on cooperation, order, and identity. In the Igbo communities of southeastern Nigeria, everyday life revolved around shared responsibilities. Extended families lived in close proximity, where everyone, young and old, had clearly defined roles. Agriculture was a central activity, with crops like yam, cassava, and vegetables forming the basis of sustenance and local trade. Markets were lively social spaces where goods, ideas, and news flowed freely. Handicrafts such as pottery, weaving, and carving not only served practical purposes but were sources of communal pride. Further north, the Hausa people organized their lives around structured community life and long-standing traditions of craftsmanship and trade. Many lived in organized settlements with distinct quarters for artisans, merchants, and farmers. Daily routines included farming, weaving, blacksmithing, and commercial exchange. Hausa towns and cities were renowned for their markets, which served as important economic and cultural centers. Storytelling, music, and poetry were valued as tools for education, moral teaching, and entertainment within the community. The Yoruba, based primarily in the southwestern region, lived in well-planned towns and villages, often centered around large family compounds. Family ties and social roles provided a strong framework for daily activities. Occupations such as farming, trading, textile work, and bead making were passed down through generations. Market, often bustling and well-organized, played an important role in economic and social interaction. Cultural expressions like drumming, dance, and recitation of historical praise names called oreki reflected both personal and collective memory. A shared feature across these cultures was the value placed on communal responsibility, intergenerational teaching, and respect for elders. Children learned by observing adults, participating in household tasks, and listening to stories filled with moral lessons. Work and leisure blended seamlessly, with festivals, group farming, and cooperative projects serving both practical and social purposes. Despite geographic and cultural differences, the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba peoples lived in well-ordered societies where everyday life was guided by principles of hard work, mutual respect, and cultural continuity. Their ways of life formed the foundation of regional identity and community resilience that continue to influence Nigeria's present and future. For centuries, the lands now known as Nigeria were part of wide-reaching trade routes that connected West Africa to distant regions through the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Indigenous groups like the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba were skilled traders, artisans, and agriculturalists who built prosperous economies based on cooperation, innovation, and resourcefulness. The Hausa city-states in particular became major trade hubs linking the Sahel and the forest regions to North Africa. Goods such as textiles, grains, metal tools, leather, and handcrafted items moved through well-organized market systems. In the Yoruba region, trade flourished between inland towns and coastal areas. Skilled artisans produced woven fabrics, sculptures, and dyed materials, while merchants established trade alliances across cultural boundaries. Among the Igbo, trade routes crisscrossed through river systems and farmlands, with local markets acting as vital economic centers. By the 15th century, foreign explorers and traders from Europe began arriving along the West African coast. At first, these interactions focused on exchanging goods such as palm oil, ivory, textiles, spices, and crafts. For many indigenous communities, these early trade links offered new opportunities to expand commercial relationships. Coastal regions developed new trading ports and adapted to emerging systems of maritime commerce. Over time, however, the nature of these exchanges began to shift as foreign interest in natural and human resources grew. Long-standing patterns of economic cooperation became entangled with external demands and pressures. Political rivalries, competition over trade access, and increased demand for certain goods began to alter the balance of power within and between communities. Some regions experienced internal conflicts or population shifts, while others sought alliances to protect their commercial interests. Though the full impact would unfold gradually, this period marked a turning point. The arrival of more powerful foreign merchants and their growing influence in regional affairs introduced new dynamics that would eventually reshape indigenous economies and governance structures. While trade had always been a source of cultural collection and growth, the increasing dominance of foreign commercial agendas signaled the beginning of significant challenges to the autonomy of Nigeria's indigenous societies. As the 19th century unfolded, the nature of foreign presence in the region began to evolve. What had started as vibrant commercial exchange gradually shifted into deeper political and administrative involvement. Foreign nations, recognizing the strategic importance of the region's waterways, agricultural wealth, and human capital, began to take a more structured interest in the organization of local affairs. In earlier centuries, coastal trade had thrived. Merchants from across the world exchanged textiles, grains, oils, metals, and handcrafted items with local traders from various indigenous communities. The Niger River served as a vital commercial highway, linking inland producers with coastal markets and international ships. Indigenous trading networks remained strong and diverse, with leadership structures maintaining order and ensuring that commerce benefited local populations. By the mid-1800s, international companies began formalizing their presence. These organizations negotiated commercial arrangements with regional leaders to establish offices, warehouses, and navigational rights. One of the most prominent commercial entities, the Royal Niger Company, managed trade along the river, fostering communication and infrastructure development. The company's activities, including resource collection and record keeping, laid the groundwork for broader administrative systems. At the same time, interest grew in harmonizing the many regions for the sake of economic efficiency and coordination. Surveys were conducted, maps were drawn, and local chiefs and leaders began to engage more frequently with foreign administrators. These interactions led to the gradual introduction of new governance ideas, particularly around taxation, resource management, and transportation planning. Educational and infrastructural developments also began to appear more systematically. Roads, ports, and communication posts were established to support trade routes and administrative coordination. These changes, while gradual and complex, reflected a growing foreign interest in transforming the region from a series of independent trade centers into a more unified territory. By the dawn of the 20th century, it had become clear that Nigeria's role in global affairs was entering a new phase. The shift from informal trade cooperation to structured territorial administration set the stage for larger decisions that would soon reshape the political boundaries of the land and its people. In the early 20th century, administrative adjustments were introduced to improve coordination across the various regions of what is today known as Nigeria. One of the most significant steps in this process was the Amalgamation of 1914, which combined the northern and southern protectorates into a single administrative unit. This change aimed to bring various territories under a common framework, simplifying communication and creating a unified structure for managing shared resources and infrastructure. It marked a shift from managing regions separately to operating as one entity under a central administration. This made governance more efficient in terms of transportation, finance, and oversight of emerging public services such as postal systems and transport routes. The decision also recognized the geographical importance of the Niger River, which linked the northern and southern parts of the country and had long served as a vital route for travel, trade, and communication. Naming the new entity after this river provided a neutral and unifying geographical reference point that connected different regions. The amalgamation brought together various cultural groups and local systems of governance within one territory. Although each region maintained its own customs and traditional institutions, they were now part of a shared administrative space. Regional divisions continued to exist internally to allow for localized governance and coordination within the broader framework. While the amalgamation was primarily an organizational move, its long-term significance would unfold gradually over the decades. It created the geographical outline of what would later become a modern nation-state, home to a rich blend of communities, traditions, and regional contributions. Through periods of administrative realignment and evolving societal structures, the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba peoples demonstrated remarkable resilience in preserving and adapting their cultural heritage. Rather than being diminished by change, these communities found ways to uphold their traditions, reframe their values in new settings, and pass on their identities to future generations. The Yoruba continued to build on their well-established legacy of artistry, architecture, and storytelling. Their city-states remained vibrant cultural hubs, where traditional festivals, poetry, and dance maintained their significance in both rural and urban life. Creative industries such as textile dyeing, bronze casting, beadwork, and music became tools not only of expression but of economic empowerment. Even as formal institutions changed, family structures, community councils, and traditional titles remained pillars of identity and governance. Among the Hausa, cultural continuity found strength in organization and community values. Cities such as Kano and Zaria retain their reputations as centers of craftsmanship, commerce, and scholarship. Traditional occupations such as leatherwork, dyeing, and metal crafts were passed down through generations, maintaining their cultural importance while contributing to local economies. Language and proverbs continue to play a central role in education, moral instruction, and everyday communication. The Igbo, known for their dynamic and adaptable community systems, preserve their customs through family leadership, community-based decision-making, and widespread participation in age-grade associations and town unions. Ceremonies such as naming rituals, harvest observances, and marriage traditions carried forward the values of respect, unity, and achievement. As education and literacy expanded, so too did cultural expression through literature, visual arts, and performance rooted in Igbo worldview. Throughout all three groups, a common theme emerged: cultural preservation through evolution. Rather than resisting change outright, communities found ways to blend the new with the old, maintaining their languages, symbols, moral teachings, and artistic styles, while embracing new tools for learning, communication, and development. This cultural continuity was not simply a matter of heritage, it was a source of strength. It fostered community bonds, encouraged self-reliance, and allowed each group to hold on to its identity, even as broader systems shifted around them. The Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba showed that culture is not static, it is living, evolving, and deeply rooted in the values of the people who carry it forward. The story of the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba peoples is not one frozen in time. It is a living narrative that continues to shape the identity and rhythm of modern Nigeria. From the structured kingdoms and vibrant markets of the past to the diverse and dynamic society of today, these groups have carried forward values, knowledge, and traditions that remain vital in the nation's cultural landscape. Each of these communities contributed richly to what Nigeria has become. The Yoruba with their legacy of artistic excellence and governance traditions, the Hausa with their commercial networks and structured social systems, and the Igbo with their emphasis on enterprise, adaptability, and communal responsibility. Their languages, music, festivals, cuisine, and philosophies are woven into the fabric of everyday life, influencing everything from family life to national institutions. In today's Nigeria, people across all backgrounds continue to draw strength from their heritage. Cultural celebrations, local crafts, oral storytelling, and traditional leadership structures coexist with modern technology, global fashion, and contemporary art. Rather than fading, the foundational values of these groups have adapted, guiding new generations through the complexities of national life. The lessons from their histories are clear. Unity is strengthened through respect for diversity, and progress is more meaningful when rooted in identity. As Nigeria continues to navigate its social and political journey, revisiting these indigenous values, dialogue, community service, mutual respect, and resilience offers a path towards sustainable harmony and national pride. Looking ahead, the past is not a burden, but a blueprint, a reminder that greatness can be drawn from roots that run deep. The lives and legacies of the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba are more than history. They are enduring foundations upon which the country can build a future that is inclusive, thoughtful, and uniquely Nigerian. If this journey through history moved you, informed you, or inspired reflection, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to keep our stories alive and our roots remembered.